Hey everyone, Ron Veitel with Siskiyou Vital Medicine with Dr. Casey Frieder today. We are here on Wednesday Night Live. Thanks for joining us. This is our weekly installment. We do a little half-hour educational piece every week. And for those of you who don't know, Siskiyou Vital Medicine is a direct primary care naturopathic clinic here in Medford, Oregon, where our goal is to actually make wellness care affordable for you. It's a novel concept. We want you to be well. So we all do well when you are well, and that's a real gift. That's what healthcare is all about. So tonight I'm joined with Dr. Casey Frieder. He's a chiropractic physician, I should say, and we're going to talk about skin health because Dr. Frieder does some really unique things in the realm of skin. So I'm going to bring him in, and we're going to talk a little bit about the skin, what it does, the importance of it, and how to care for it, and how to take care of some really important things with the skin. So
yeah, absolutely. I'm excited. The skin is it's a really important topic, and I think it's oftentimes overlooked topic in healthcare.
It seems to be something that we only really think about in the summer months, and you know, as far as like skin sunscreen and not getting sunburned, or maybe we think about acne or something like that, but we don't really do a whole lot with the skin.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think along the lines of there's certain situations where the skin comes up. We think of skin health, and when we see certain signs of dysfunction, such as acne, or sometimes being in the sun, we will think about protecting the skin. But what people are oftentimes not thinking about is the totality of the skin. It's the largest organ in the body.
Which most people don't realize it's an organ.
That's right.
So we think of liver, we think of kidneys, but the skin is the largest organ.
That's right. And what an organ essentially is it's just, it's a level of organization. It's a system. And the skin happens to be intimately connected to the nervous system. In fact, you could almost make the argument that the skin in the nervous system, not almost, you can, in fact I will make the argument right now that the skin and the nervous system are one and the same. There's no clear boundary between these two systems. Wow. If you look back to the origin of the skin and the nervous system, they come from the same cell type, the same layer of cells during embryonic development. And so there's three different main, without getting too much into embryology, which is kind of a complex topic, but there's three main cell types that we start with that go on to differentiate to form all of the different cell types in our bodies, which there's innumerable. However, so this, the nervous system and the skin have that common origin, which is important because then when we look at the full development, and when the body is finished and we have the skin encasing all,
holding us in,
forming this real, the interface. It's like this primary interface with the outer world, and every square inch, the entire surface area, that's a better way of saying it, the entire surface area of the skin has nerve endings. So there you go. When you look at, because the sensory, if you look at that sensory piece, is that we have the nerve endings, and that's what allows us to know where we are in space. It's really that one of the key senses interaction. So
I was reading something last night about the senses, as a matter of fact, and one of the things that they said was this physician said that you could actually look at the skin and touch as the archetype of all the senses, which is really interesting. It was an interesting statement that he had made.
That is. So, yeah, that is. I could see that being, I could see some truth in that, if maybe we look at the main senses being like hearing, vision, smell, taste, and then touch. Those would be the main five.
Yeah.
And, you get rid of any one of the others, and you can still interact with the world. The other senses will pick up the slack and sharpen. But if you think about, if you got rid of the skin with that sensory touch,
not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Yeah.
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 It would really be, it seems like that would create a lot more isolation, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that definition of how it connects us.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, I know this is one of your favorite topics, is talking about the relationship of the skin to the digestive tract. Because if we follow the skin within, you know, the digestive system and the skin really are, again, one and the same. That's another really
It's like an inner skin, because our skin the cells are called epithelial cells, and in the small intestine they're called epithelial cells.
Yeah.
So it's like your digestive tract is an inner skin in a sense.
That's right. The digestive tract, just as the skin separates an individual organism from the outer world.
That's right.
The digestive tract actually performs the same function, because when we eat food, it actually is not assimilated. It's still something other. It's still outside of our body until it's absorbed through the digestive tract, and then it can actually be assimilated, you know, be moved into, those nutrients can be moved into cells and can actually become a part of the structure that we would consider, you know, me or any individual.
It's the outer world running through the inner world. It's an open-ended tube, and
that's right.
So it's just, it keeps the inner world separate from the outer world, just like this skin keeps the outer world separated from our inner world. Yeah. That's exciting.
So then when we start to talk about, okay, dysfunction of the skin, you brought up acne.
Right.
Well, the main cause, if we look to what are the root causes of acne, you know, it's the acne is being caused by what's happening in the digestive tract. Acne is a manifestation of the inner world of dysfunction on the inside of the world. It's manifesting on the outside, as you can see it. So acne is inflammation, and it's a sign that there's inflammation in the gut.
And so then that's just being expressed out when it gets bad enough.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so when it gets to that point, you know, it definitely begs attention. It's important, because that's a sign, if it really that there's really quite a bit of inflammation, quite a bit of dysfunction. The body has a lot of resilience.
Right.
You know, we can handle a lot of stress, you know, and adapt to a lot of things without showing outer signs through the skin.
Right.
But when we start to show these outer signs, whether it's acne, whether it's certain skin lesions that we can talk more about, then that's a sign that, you know, whatever the dysfunction is, it's already gotten quite far.
Right, and now it's finally just expressing itself. Tell me, how did you get so interested in the skin? How did that happen?
Well, I had acne as a teenager, you know, pretty bad acne for a while, and so I definitely was personally interested in just trying to figure out, you know, how to improve it. Unfortunately, at that time, I didn't have access to the knowledge that I now do. I didn't know that making dietary changes is, in fact, the key element, the most important part of treating acne, and in fact, getting rid of it. And so I went, you know, I took medications, you know, and I kind of went that route, you know, and never really solving it. You know, it wasn't until years later when I started to travel and started a yogic practice and started really consciously to make some dietary changes that all of a sudden that acne cleared up, and it went away quick. You know, as soon as
amazing how that happens.
Yeah,
right.
Amazing. And so you know, I've talked to numerous people. If you do a little bit of research, you'll find numerous stories of people who have really bad acne, cystic acne, you know, scarring, you know, and they make radical dietary changes in a positive direction, and the acne clears up, goes away, and even that scarring can go away.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so that would have been probably my first inclination. Okay, that wasn't a clinical interest; that was a personal interest, you know, as it pertained to me. And then, as a physician, I first became interested in skincare while I was a student in chiropractic college. When I met Dr. Tel Oren, who is an Israeli physician who has developed a real, say, revolutionary skin care treatment. It's a skin lesion removal solution that he developed, and that is one of the key services that I offer now. So I met Dr. T, as he's called during that time, and he's just a brilliant holistic physician. And so that was kind of my first exposure to what he was doing, and really started to learn, okay, the importance of the skin and how it is a barometer of the health of the entire body.
Excellent. And so then you studied under him, and now you're carrying that forward and applying that in your practice now.
That's right. Yeah. So Dr. T has trained several physicians. He's certified a network of physicians throughout the country. There may be 20 plus physicians right now we've created this network, the Ecopolitan Eco Health Community, under which we are offering these skin clinics.
Oh, that's awesome. So this is like, you're like on the ground floor of this then.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm the only physician in Oregon who's offering it, and so, yeah. That's
really cool.
It's pretty neat.
So can you tell us a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, so, well, first and foremost, to answer that question directly, and then we'll backtrack a little bit into the why.
Yes.
We'll start with the what. So the what is the skin lesion removal. It's a non-medical treatment, and what it is, it's a topical application of an acidic solution. It's a proprietary solution that Dr. T developed, and what it does is when it contacts skin lesions, and what a lesion is an abnormality, a mole, a birthmark, a skin tag, a hemangioma, seborrheic keratosis. The list kind of goes on and on. Actinic or solar keratoses. There's a lot of different lesions, bumps, discolorations, so on and so forth on your skin, which are signs of underlying dysfunction. But they can be safely removed.
Right on.
Through this solution. And when you apply it, what it does is it strangulates the lesion. So it just cuts off the blood supply. So it really isolates it, it's really gentle, and then what will happen is the lesion will scab up, fall off, and then the healthy skin below can grow in its place. So that's the what.
Okay.
The why, so why would you want to remove these skin lesions?
Why would I want to remove a birthmark or a skin tag?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
And so maybe the most obvious might be for cosmetic reasons. People might have a very large mole. They might have some sun-damaged skin that has started to redden and get dry and flaky and crusty over time, which could be potentially what we call precancerous lesion, or perhaps it's already moving into that realm of a carcinoma or a cancerous lesion. So of course you'd want to get rid of those to improve the appearance. Why is that important? Because having a healthy appearance that affects the psychological body. So so I don't discount cosmetics. Some patients will oftentimes come to see me, and it's almost like they feel a little self-conscious that maybe they are somehow, what's the word I'm looking for? That somehow they're not entitled to care about their appearance, you know what I mean? Oh, that perhaps they're self-absorbed by wanting to get rid of that lesion. And no, I don't buy that at all. I think that it's really justified, because it really does, and it's important to feel good about the way you look, because that affects your well-being. And the the emotional body, the mind, that has as big an impact, on our health as anything that's happening physically.
I firmly believe disease begins in consciousness, the way we're thinking and feeling about things.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So the more that we can feel healthy and good about who we are, and whether it be our external appearance or our internal, that's crucial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be the first reason, and so we want to take care of it in that to help someone out, to really improve just their overall psychological well-being. Next would be and I already kind of hinted at this, if the lesion could potentially become dangerous. Does that lesion have the potential to become skin cancer over time? And so obviously if that's the case, well, we want to get rid of it. And one of the beauties of this treatment that Dr. T developed is that we can treat all over the body, not just on the epithelial or the outer skin cells, but also in the mucosal membranes as well. So it's safe to treat, inside the mouth, on the eyelid, inside the eyelid even. I've removed lesions. I've removed lesions from inside the eyelid. Now, if you'll notice, these are areas where there isn't a surgical option.
Right.
And even if you get a skin tag growing on your eyelid, which is very common, there isn't a surgical option for that, because the skin isn't thick enough to cut it out.
Right.
And so this gives us a great alternative, a very effective alternative, where we could treat lesions in really sensitive spots. And so the second reason, the first we said for the cosmetic, the second is that for safety. Obviously, for health, we want to make sure and treat anything that could potentially be dangerous. Now, the third reason is that any abnormality of the skin is going to create a certain amount of what we call neurologic irritation. And many of the listeners have probably experienced it. You might have a skin tag, you might have a mole somewhere, and over time your clothes rubs on that spot. And that can irritate you, and maybe it's a spot that you start itching, you know, and it's over time, and maybe it's like, oh, you itch it off, and it gets a little bit bloody, and a scab forms, and then, you know, it goes through the cycle. Well, that mechanical irritation, you know, so again, think of this idea of the skin and the nervous system as one. That's stimulus into the nervous system, and I like to liken it to white noise.
Yeah.
You know, it's white noise. It's not a healthy stimulus. It's not doing anything positive. It's just white noise. It's just kind of over stimulus. And so in the ideal state is the skin is smooth and unblemished, and that's when it's most receptive to this magical world that we live in, you know, and to really doing its job of being the sensory organ that forms the interface between us and the outer world. So by getting rid of these lesions that are like pockets of white noise, creating unnecessary neurological irritation, stimulation, that's a way of just calming down the nervous system, bringing down just kind of the overall tone of the nervous system, which is a good thing.
Yes.
Because in this world we live in, we're subject to stress on so many different levels, obviously. So any opportunity we have to bring down the overall tonus of stress is going to be beneficial for our health.
We're already so hyperstimulated in today's world that any additional stimuli, whether it be an irritation or any irritation, let's just stop there, and that's just more stress streaming into the physiology.
That's
so,
right.
Dampen it, feel better, less stress.
Yeah, and so what we've noted over time in these skin clinics is oftentimes when we remove a lesion, and you know, oftentimes the larger the lesion, the more pronounced effect, it can have far-reaching effects on health. You know, it can, and sometimes, oftentimes quite surprising effects in terms of just improving the overall health.
I would imagine you have probably over your course of time with this seen some experiences of people and just scratched your head going, I had no idea you would feel this much better just from removing this little lesion. Yeah,
it's true. Yeah, and I'm continually amazed by just the effectiveness of this treatment. And you know, I offer in my practice, I don't, you know, this skin lesion removal is just one treatment that I offer. I also offer, you know, a lot of more traditional chiropractic as well as functional medicine treatments. And so, you know, I see a lot of different, you know, I applied a lot of different therapeutic means, and I see a lot of different responses, you know, across the board. And without a doubt, this skin lesion removal, hands down, is the most consistently effective, and really with bringing really positive results that sometimes are just absolutely, you know, unexpected and surprising in a positive way.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I would imagine you might have a sense of like being on the cusp of something really great and wonderful there with that.
It feels like it, you know, it feels like as this spreads, and I mean, it's really, you know, just by word of mouth is, you know, we haven't needed to do any marketing, because, you know, once you've experienced this and you've really noted the results and experienced it for yourself, then I find that every patient becomes a proponent, you know, and they said, oh, they can think of, you know, 10 friends right off the top of their head who could really benefit from this. You know, birthmarks just came into my mind, and you know, oftentimes people say, oh, it's, you know, I was born with this, you know, and so in their mind they think, okay, well, that's just the way it is, and if I was born with this, then this is just normal. Well, the truth is, your life didn't begin when you came out of the womb. You had 9 months of development before then, and if you're born with a birthmark, that's a sign that there was some abnormality. You know, not necessarily, you know, not. In most cases, it's not a tragic flaw, you know, so to speak. But there's something went wrong. Something went a little bit haywire in the development. So why not remove that birthmark? You know, why not improve? Why not take that step back, you know, in utero and make that improvement and really support the body in that way.
Wow.
And
so how long have you been doing this for now?
so I've been doing this for about 3.5 years.
Wow.
Been
Okay.
offering it. Yeah.
Okay. So this, and you've now recently brought it here to Siskiyou Vital Medicine as well, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
And are there set days and times that you're here?
There are. Well, it's becoming more concrete over time. It's been fluid these first couple months. I generally offer the clinics, the skin lesion removal on specific skin clinic days. Now I've been doing it in Ashland for the last several years, once or twice a month. So now that we've added this location in Medford, we're doing it again once or twice a month. Right now it's depending on interest, which is growing. And so my goal is I'd love to be here once a week. Love to be here a day a week, you know, for several hours offering this service. Now, in addition to the skin lesion removal, a big part of it, and maybe the most important part, is just getting an accurate diagnosis. And along that lines, what I'd like, you know, everybody to know is that we offer free consultations, always. So anyone can come in, and if they have a lesion that they're concerned about, or, you know, that they're not sure if it's dangerous or if there's just the possibility of removing it, if it would be beneficial to remove it, is this a lesion, whatever the case may be. Getting back to what we talked about at the beginning, because the skin is oftentimes, it's almost a blind spot in medicine. I mean, you have the dermatologic profession, you know, but beyond that, there's not a lot of options, you know, and so what we're really trying to offer here is just a service for people to be able to come in and just, you know, get an educated, professional opinion on their skin,
which is such a gift to give people, because you don't want to go into something not sure. You want to you know, go in there knowing that this is the right thing for you. And so to be able to get that for free, a nice free consultation, is always a really sweet deal to have.
So patients can come in, absolutely. Patients can come in anytime, come in, have a chat, free consultation, can let them know more about the service, about the treatment, answer any questions that they may have, and then if they choose to have treatment, great, they can have it then and there. They can reschedule for later, because it's really quick, it's effective. If we're just talking about, for most common lesions, it only takes a few minutes, and so oftentimes people will come in for a free consultation. They find out, oh, sounds really good, this is something I'm interested in, and I say, well, is it possible, could you do it right now? And most of the time, yes is the answer. Time permits. Because it's
That's awesome. It's nice to be able to go in, get the or at least get the consultation, get the procedure, be done, on your way.
You know, and that's the beauty of this real, like, direct healthcare, you know, which is what Siskiyou Vital Medicine is about, you know. And so this is I would call this a low-tech procedure, you know. This isn't like utilizing any really high-tech, expensive equipment. It's really simple, and yet it's just because it's low-tech does not mean that it's not effective, you know, or potentially even more effective than the higher tech or more expensive treatments out there. And that's something that's important to keep in mind, because it's easy to lose track. We tend to associate, you know, in this world, like, the fancier, the more expensive, the more technology involved, the better the results. Well, the truth is, oftentimes it's quite the opposite.
Absolutely. If you took good care of yourself, you ate real food, used medicinal herbs, and had some really simple treatments, you'd probably live really well, really healthy, and you don't need any high-tech gadgets to get you there. So
so that just made me think about really what you do, Ron, which is nutrition. And nutrition is, again, I mentioned it earlier, you know, in terms of the conditions of the skin, nutrition is first and foremost the most important thing in treating it.
Healthy diet, clean, healthy diet. I was actually going to ask you right before you brought that up, is there anything nutritionally that people can do to is there like a healing process, and is there anything nutritionally that people can do to expedite the healing process from something like this,
Yeah.
from a skin lesion removal?
Yep, absolutely. Increasing the consumption, the intake of antioxidants. That would be the most important thing.
Okay.
First and foremost. And maybe you could talk about some of your favorite foods that really are high in antioxidants.
I would say eat colorful foods. The colors are where the goods are. So things like blueberries and beets and carrots, so you're getting a rainbow of colors in your diet, and that's going to give you increased antioxidant status. Some of the key ones you could do things like kale, spinach. These are really rich in an antioxidant called lutein. Lutein is an antioxidant that is known for promoting skin health, because when the sun's rays come into the skin, that creates free radicals. And so foods that are rich in lutein and other antioxidants can quench those free radicals and save the skin from aging at an accelerated rate, so you can maybe look younger than you really are, and that's a good thing. So
yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So colorful foods, if I was to say anything. And then if you want to do antioxidant supplements, so there's a whole host of those that we could spend hours upon hours on. But some key ones that jump out for me are resveratrol is a really solid antioxidant product that you can use. Vitamins A, C, E, selenium, those are all really good ones as well. So
I'm curious, Ron, what do you think of glutathione?
I think that's a huge one. I think liposomal glutathione,
Yep.
or taking N-acetylcysteine, NAC, because that's a precursor to glutathione, so that can boost glutathione levels, and that's a key antioxidant in the liver for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really important for detoxification pathways.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so one of the functions of the skin as an organ is detoxification. That's why we sweat. It's a way of getting rid of toxins. And if you look at the growth cycle of the skin, about every 29 days our skin regenerates. It sloughs off. So
Amazing that 29 days you're generating new skin all the time.
Isn't that amazing?
I love the regenerative capacity of the human organism.
And that would explain why people who've had cystic acne with these scars, when they make these radical, which is radical but really positive, oftentimes they are radical in the sense of being very big dietary changes for the person involved, that the scarring can just disappear, because you wait a month and those are brand new cells, and if those cells are being fed with the proper nutrients, then they're going to have a completely different life cycle. They're going to have a completely different expression than the damaged cells.
And over time,
preceded
the
them.
scarring gets less and less and less. So imagine every 28 days, so 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, you start getting healthier and healthier skin. And
That's right.
And those scars can eventually fade away.
That's right.
Yeah.
So another thing that I'd like to mention for skin health is exercise. Huge. So important. Exercise is really what promotes the turnover, the cellular turnover. Exercise, moving our body. Our bodies are meant to move, and so moving the body acts as, it's a mechanical pump. That's what really gets things in motion and promotes this healthy regeneration and this turnover. If we just sit around on the couch, you know what I mean? It's like we can eat all the healthy stuff that we want, but it's not going to be activated. It's not going to be put into play in the same way. We need, exercise and movement really. You could just say movement. Some people are afraid of the word exercise, so I don't want to scare anyone out there. If we just say movement, healthy movement patterns is a way of really catalyzing.
Wow, we lost our light.
Lost our light.
Hold on. How about that? The light switch went off on us on its own, but I think we might be at a half hour anyways. I'm not quite sure. I don't even have a watch, so are we at a half hour?
I don't know either. I mean, we might be close, but it's just like, I feel like we're just scratching the surface.
I know.
It's such an awesome topic.
It is. We get to do like multiple any topic we could do multiple sessions on, but this is a great one because it's not one that's talked about a whole lot. We talk about digestion, we talk about all sorts of other detoxification, all sorts of other things, but we very rarely just focus on the health of the skin.
Yeah.
So, is there any last words you want to say for for people? Like anything you want to sum it up, or anything you want them to know?
Well, I don't know about. I think that speaking of the sun is really important because
Yes.
you mentioned
Thank
that
you.
kind of at the beginning, and so I would want people to know not to fear the sun.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the prevailing information that's being given in the realm of skincare in the healthcare system in this country is to avoid the sun.
Mm-hmm.
To either don't go out in the sun. When you do, cover yourself up with sunscreen and avoid the sun because the sun is bad. Sun causes skin cancer. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. As a general statement, it's just so far off of the mark.
Yes.
And so I would, we could do a whole half an hour easy, and then some, just talking about this relationship between the skin and the sun. But I would just to say, people don't fear the sun. It's getting healthy sun exposure on a daily basis is really important. How do you know what a healthy dose is? A healthy dose is basically the amount of sun that your particular skin type can handle before you get burned. Getting sunburned is not a good idea. That definitely causes damage and stress. Now, the darker your skin is, the more sun that you can handle before you start to burn. Some people, won't ever burn in the sun. But don't be afraid of the sun. Getting exposure all through the body is so important in so many ways. The most obvious one is for vitamin D production.
Right.
But it goes far beyond that. There's a lot of other things at play, so that would be something that we could talk about in the future. But the sun is good. We've evolved, we spent our entire pretty much evolution, we evolved underneath the sun. And it's only recently that in the past few hundred years that people have even had the option of spending their days, engaged in pursuits, that bar them from the sun inside. So for office workers, people who are spending all day in an office,
under fluorescent
lights and not getting the sun exposure, so important that in the morning after work, during lunch, just going outside in your lunch break for 15 minutes and just getting some sun. That's really, you don't want to, can't underestimate the positive effects of that. That can really help out a lot.
I would challenge you to do that and see if your mood shifts at all.
Yeah.
Just to get a little bit of sun every day can shift the mood dramatically.
Absolutely. I actually experienced that just on this trip that I just returned from in Ecuador.
Oh, wow.
It was, I went to the beach expecting, equatorial sun, and it turned out that this time of year, it's oftentimes overcast. And so all but one of the 10 days I was there, the sun came out. And it's amazing, the difference that had on my own effect. I really was keenly aware of that. All of a sudden, it was just like, it was really exciting,
Yeah,
and so,
you feel good.
Yeah, and you feel good. So use that. Leverage that. The sun is free. It doesn't. It's it's a simple. It's a no cost.
Yeah.
It's one of our greatest. You can think of it as one of the greatest secrets, tools to health, however you want to think of it. And it's always.
It's right there.
It's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many beautiful things to enjoy about the sun when we get out in it. On that note, is there a sunscreen that you like, or a style of sunscreen?
So first, the best, I would say, first and foremost, if you can go without sunscreen, that's the best. And if you can develop, between developing a healthy tan without burning, over time, your skin will darken. You'll get more pigment. And then you can naturally tolerate more sun exposure without getting damaged by that. And then you can be the beneficiary of even more positive effects from more time in the sun. However, there are circumstances where you are going to spend, perhaps people, particularly with lighter toned skin like myself, are going to spend long periods of time in the sun. But, for me, it's oftentimes when surfing, and it's not feasible to cover the whole body.
Yes.
In that case, I would recommend using sunscreen, knowing first and foremost, though, that that sunscreen is not protecting you from all
The sun's rays.
All of the sun's rays, all of the wavelengths. So there's different types of energy. So you may still be getting too much, you know, when you're spending way too much time in the sun, because what the sunscreen has, the SPF, right? So an SPF of 30 basically says, okay, well, that allows you to spend 30 times longer in the sun, 30 times the amount of time it would take to get burned. You can now spend that. Well, that can give you a false sense of assurance, because you think, okay, that's great, I can just be out in the sun and I'm not getting damaged. Well, that's not true. You're actually overdoing it in that sense. But getting back to your question, what I would recommend is zinc oxide. Most sunscreens have a lot of chemicals in them, you know, a lot of really dangerous chemicals that can be absorbed through the skin, known as endocrine or hormone disruptors.
A whole other topic, right?
Whole another topic. A lot of really toxic stuff. In the studies I've seen, using zinc oxide, you want to get a non-nano. Now there's some products called nano zinc oxide where nano means little. They've tried to engineer it to be really small molecules, so that it rubs in better, because people don't want the white, you know, any signs of the white cream on their skin. Well, the problem with that is then you're absorbing it, and you don't want to absorb any of these chemicals. And so if you just get a basic zinc oxide and apply that, it seems to be fairly effective against UV. Well, it's effective against UVB. UVB rays are the ones that trigger the sunburn. Right. But then also against UVA rays, which is a different wavelength, which penetrates more deeply into the sun. So I would say just
into
getting
the skin,
into the skin.
Yeah.
So getting zinc oxide based, and in a cream or lotion form where you're rubbing it on, don't get an aerosol, because if you're going to be spraying that on, then you're going to be inhaling that, and you're going to be taking it into your body that way, and you don't want to do that. So.
No. Zinc oxide's the way to go, and I really and the real way to go is the original thing he said is the, you know, gradually get a tan.
Gradually get a tan, and then cover up with clothing. That's what I would do before. You know, there aren't many circumstances where I use sunscreen, and so, you know, when I'm getting, you know, when spring first comes, and, you know, and I'm first starting to build my tan for the year, you know, and going, say, going shirtless for a while, maybe 10-15 minutes, and then when I start to feel, okay, I've had enough, I can feel that I'm borderline, then simply putting on a shirt, or same thing, wearing a hat. You know, that's going to be your best way to go. Now, since wearing a hat is going to be good in a lot of circumstances for people, because, you know, if you're working outside, if you spending plenty of time outside, you're going to be getting enough sun exposure on your face. You know, that wearing a hat after that is going to be beneficial.
Super crucial.
So focusing on sun exposure on the rest of the body, places where the sun doesn't usually shine, that's probably really important, I'd say.
Excellent.
Yeah.
How can people find you?
People can find me at my website, which is sotruehealth.com. My clinic is Southern Oregon True Health, so if you just go to sotruehealth.com, you can also look up Southern Oregon True Health on Facebook. Those are the kind of two easy ways. And yeah, there's a lot more information. You can get scheduled for for one of the skin clinics that we do, either in Ashland or here in Medford.
Excellent.
Give us a call and connect in that way.
Fantastic. So if this interests you, if you're interested in learning more about how you can have certain skin lesions removed, whether it be a birthmark or a mole or something you're concerned about, definitely give us a call. Get a hold of Dr. Give us a call here, see when Dr. Frieder will be here for one of his clinics, or you could go to sotruehealth.com and get a hold of him there and go visit him at his clinic in Ashland, Oregon.
And just our next clinic dates, off the top of my head, we have a clinic tomorrow in Ashland. I don't know if we have any spots left.
Okay.
But if you are hearing this and you're really interested in getting in, definitely give us a call, 541-708-2088. We might be able to squeeze you in tomorrow. It's in Ashland. And then next week here at Siskiyou Vital Medicine, I believe it's Wednesday the 15th.
Okay.
Wait, no, Wednesday wouldn't be the 15th.
I don't know the date off the top of my head.
So it's either Wednesday the 13th. It's sometime next week.
This is why we don't do the calendars.
Yeah, that's not my department. But get in touch either with us or Siskiyou Veitel Medicine, and we can get you scheduled.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming, Dr. Frieder. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Ron.
It's always a pleasure to talk with you.
Yeah,
I like that.
for sure.
And thank you, everyone, for joining us for Wednesday Night Live. We'll be back next week, next Wednesday, for the next Wednesday Night Live. And if you like what you hear here, please share it with your friends on Facebook, and that way more people can get access to information that they need to turn their health around and live a life full of vitality and optimal well-being. So thank you, everybody. Have a good night, and we'll see you next week.
Be well.
Bye-bye.